Welcome to the CVC Spotlight presented by Michael DeLazel & Co., CPAs and Business Advisors. For more information, you can contact them at cpaneeds.com. We thank you for your support of the CVC Spotlight and the Sugar Valley Conference. Today, we're shining the light on Hawken Senior and Cornell University football commit Manan Raina. Manan, thank you so much for taking some time, and congratulations on your commitment to Cornell University.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So the first thing I want to ask is obviously it's already rare to go play at the Division I level, but then to add an Ivy League school to that, how awesome is that? And what does it mean to you to kind of culminate 4 years of hard work in the classroom? Obviously, student athlete, student first, on both the football field and in the classroom to be able to, go to an Ivy League college and play at the Division I football level.
Obviously, it means a lot. My goal was always to go to an Ivy League school, and when I really got into sports, like since I was young, my goal was always to play in college. But I always felt like playing college was unrealistic, so it's a dream come true to be able to do both.
Not so much doubting, but like kind of thinking at one point that it was hard to do because it is very hard to go play at that next level, whether it's divisions 1 through 3, NAIA, it's hard. So now that you're at that point of you've signed your letter of intent and you are just a few months or just a few weeks away from getting there and starting training camp and all the things of that nature, how exciting is it, and how crazy is it to think just a few years ago you were thinking this might not be the path?
Well, I mean, I always knew I had the aspirations, but like my freshman year, I was like 6 foot, like 178 pounds, and I was a defensive lineman, and I wasn't very good. So, I mean, at that point, it was really just like a dream. I mean, for me, it really hasn't like settled in yet. Just like going to school again and then starting work again. But obviously, like part of me always felt a little bit satisfied accomplishing my goal and stuff. But you don't want to stay in that moment of satisfaction to the point that you forget like how you got there and what you have to keep doing.
At Hawken, you played both sides of the ball, offensive tackle and defensive tackle. Which side are you picking? Or are you kind of gonna feel out the process? Yeah, once you get there, once you arrive at Cornell.
I'm gonna play offensive line and probably play interior once I get there.
Well, how much does just having kind of that background of, being a defensive tackle, going against interior offensive linemen, and also just having the offensive line technique already, how much is that going to help you, knowing what you have to do, even though it's interior, knowing, when you lost a rep at defense, knowing what that guy did right and how you can just kind of replicate that and, just learn from things like that. How much is that going to help you once you get there? And obviously, Division I football is, a lot higher level than really anything as far as, besides pro. So how is that just playing both sides of the ball? How's that going to help you?
Well, like my freshman year, like I mentioned, I played like D end, and I always viewed myself as a defensive guy. But my old head coach had told me like at the end of the season, he was like, "You're like an offensive tackle. You have really, really long arms, and like you move better as an offensive lineman." And like at the end of that year, I started training with my trainer. Now he was like, "What do you want to work on?" I'm like, "D line, D line." And then when Coach Amarino and his staff came in my sophomore year, like it was still like I was like, I want to play defensive line. But then I realized like in the summer, I was starting at right tackle. And like as much as I really wanted to play defensive line, like even the scrimmages and stuff, I just really wasn't that good at it. And offensive line felt more natural. And that's when I remember after Gilmore my sophomore year, like I went in with my trainer and I was like I'm not gonna lie, like I don't really get in defense. Like might as well focus on offense. I think that's what's better anyways. Um, and like from there, from like that point towards like now, like it's always been like 'cause we always incorporated like offensive line stuff, but like knowing then sophomore year I was an offensive lineman, I still knew like what defensive linemen like to do. But from my freshman year, every Sunday, like going training, like just having that technique, I mean, I think really gives me a leg up. And then also knowing what defensive linemen want to do and just knowing the game of football makes it like incrementally a lot easier.
Obviously, you and some of your teammates on a boatload of offensive linemen across the really Ohio area work with that same trainer. Can you talk a little bit about, how much that those sessions have meant to the success that you have seen these past handful of years, and how much more success that's going to add down the line, and how much you've learned in those sessions, and just being a varsity football player.
Yeah, well, like I trained with Dale Roddick, like the lineman lab in T3. and Coach Chad too, and Coach Moore. Like he's just really like so great. Like if you look at like all of the best linemen in the area, most of them train with him, and those who don't eventually will find their way there, and they get a lot better once they're with him. Like I remember my freshman sophomore year, I could barely like take like a kick set, and then now to the point where I feel a lot more fluid, and like his understanding of the game is really just like it's surreal. Like the connections he has, like the fact that he knows like NFL offensive line coaches, Power Four offensive line coaches, and that like they trust him and stuff because he's developed people. And I mean, he just I feel like I owe a lot of who I am, if not all of it, to as a player to him, like developing me. Because like if when I look back at the videos like in my phone, like seeing the vision that he saw in me, like it's kind of hard to see. And just like the fact that every single Sunday he believes in you, you go out there, you train with him, puts you in a group with some of the best people, and just develops you as a player. No matter who you are, you go and you get developed. Has really like changed me as a person. Also, changed my technique and my understanding of how to play offensive line.
The offensive line is, they call it, it is a unit that works cohesively. Obviously, the tackles and the guards and the center, the exterior to the interior are a little bit different. So to going from playing right tackle for the past handful of years to now switching to the interior, how much do you think you kind of maybe have to relearn in a way, because it is a little bit different of a position? The steps are different, and the down blocking and things of that nature is all just a little bit different. How much do you think you just have to kind of retool in your brain a little bit of, now it's a guard step, not a tackle step, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, like for me, ever since like I got my first offer, like in week 3 of my junior season, like I realized I was gonna be an interior guy, so I started training interior. At camps wherever I went, I played interior too. Like in practice and stuff, I'd move around as well. So it is a little bit different. Obviously, I haven't played interior in a game, but I feel pretty comfortable playing like anywhere from left tackle to right tackle and knowing what my steps are, just being versatile, being able to do anything from snap to go out to tackle and block an edge rusher. So I think there's like some stuff to learn, but I think I've gotten most of like the hard stuff out of the way. I'm just ready to go and work.
And obviously, just a couple last questions. Big signing day at Hawken recently. A couple of your teammates, one of your offensive lineman foes, teammates as well, all going to play at the next level. Just talk to me about that senior class, some of the things that you guys have accomplished over these past 4 years, and what was it like to share in this moment with some people that you've known, for a long time, of being able to put your name in that short list of athletes that get to go play at the next level.
Yeah, well, like my freshman year, we came to a team that had not won a single game the year before, and every other year went winless. And like that year, we went 5-6. But our freshman class was when we were freshmen was pretty big. And we always knew that like the talent we had was kind of crazy. Like on the scout team, we would be able to go up against the starters and win reps, and we had so many dudes that just cared so much for the game. I mean, this year we really wanted to like prove who we were and like have a good season. We did have that. Obviously, we had like some injuries and stuff down the stretch, but I mean, our class has always been one of like the more hardworking. Like we like to say, like we were part in flipping that like culture around, especially when Coach I came and kind of brought like more of like a winning mindset to stuff. He came and he hit the ground running. So because like he said, he wanted those seniors who were the class of 23 to have like a winning senior year, and he had told us that we were kind of like the class to help do that. And I think we've just kind of shifted the program's culture going from you don't win a lot of games to like having a standard of winning, showing up and playing good football. And sharing that moment with like some people, it felt really good. And then also seeing like my teammates succeed in the offseason, like our linebacker Kenna getting a lot of offers. That feels nice knowing our quarterback has a handful of them, knowing that our running back and then left tackle are going to play at the next level. And then our nose tackle and guard playing wrestling in college too. Like that just those are your guys. So seeing them succeed and fulfill their goals is something that really feels good as well when you're doing it too.
Well, you talked about, changing the culture, and that was a big part of, Coach Marino coming in and turning that program around. I always ask the athletes who are going to play at the next level of the legacy. And I think, the legacy and the culture that your senior class, and even a couple before, the one before you guys, of changing the culture of establishing, like, we can win games, we can go above 500, we can get in the playoffs, and we can do something special year in and year out. How much does it mean to not only leave that mark, but also go to play at the next level at an Ivy League school, and just all the things that have kind of happened over the last couple of years, and even down to just recently signing to Cornell. How much does that mean leaving a big impact on one of the best football programs in the CVC since you guys, came over and really turned it around?
Yeah, like in our playoff game, we drew VASJ, who was a really good team. They were seated pretty low, and it was the first home playoff game we'd had in 15 years. I remember in the pregame we were sitting there, and like some dudes were feeling down about it because obviously like they had some talent that like just by name scared some people. But Coach I had said something about like when he went to go watch Rocky, like fighting to the very last second, and like being like an artist and signing your name at the bottom, like putting your mark on what Hawken football really was. We went out there and we had him for a little bit, and like we fought our behinds off, for lack of better words. And it just is like a culture of never giving up. I mean, like me and some other dudes, like we played half of our season, senior seasons hurt, and they're dudes that just would never go out. Like you never wanted to go out. You always wanted to fight, always want to be aggressive. And I think like that's like the shift and stuff, and that's led by coaches like Coach I, leaving that mark of like Hawken football isn't like soft. Like when I came in my freshman year, like people were ashamed, like including myself. It's like, oh yeah, I play for Hawken, but it's kind of like something that like we're able to say proudly now that like we go out there and like if you look at like the schedule from this year, you look on Max Preps, like and last year too, like we really did like put it on some teams, and we really did like run up the score and like stop them and stop some really good players and teams. I mean, just like in terms of like legacy and carrying that on, like that's just something I learned really my junior year is just play aggressive and just like never regret what you're doing, and then it'll all work out.
All right, Manon, thank you so much for taking some time. Again, I would like to thank our sponsor of the CVC Spotlight, Michael DeLazel & Co., CPAs and business advisors. For all of your accounting help and needs, you can contact them at cpaneeds.com. We thank them for their support of the CVC Spotlight. Manon, thank you so much. Congratulations on a great 3 to 4 years at Hawken, and I wish you the best of luck for the next 4 years at the next level.
Thank you.
This episode of CVC Spotlight was presented by Michael DeLazel and Company, CPAs and business advisors. Call 216-485-2028 or visit cpaneeds.com to learn more about what DeLazel and Company can do for you.